All right, everyone, welcome. Please have a seat and we'll get started. Thanks for getting up early on this beautiful Saturday morning in Denver. I'm Katie MacDonald. I'm a member of the ACADIA Board of Directors and an assistant professor at the University of Virginia, where I direct the Before Building Laboratory. This morning, I welcome creative powerhouse Odile Decq. Decq founded her studio directly after her education in 1978, foregoing the traditional apprenticeship to immediately begin materializing social, cultural, and spatial critiques through urban planning, architecture, design, and art. While little has been written on the subject, she was an early adopter of the computer, which can be evidenced in the dynamism and precision of her work coming to prominence in the 90s. Her bold work has been recognized with many accolades, including the Golden Lion in Venice in 1996, the Jane Drew Prize in 2016, the European Cultural Center Architecture Award in 2018, and today, the ACADIA Award for Design Excellence. Beyond her accomplishments in practice, Odile Decq has taught at programs including the Bartlett, the Kunstakademie, Columbia, Harvard, l'École spéciale d'architecture in Paris. With an interest in defining new models of architectural education, she created her own school in 2014, the Confluence Institute for Innovation and Creative Strategies in Architecture. Decq's commitment to expanding architectural thought as a disruptor, practitioner, and educator make her a defining voice and role model for communities such as ours that seek to introduce new ideas into a discipline that so often favors convention and stasis. In her 2020 interview for Madam Architect, Decq responded to the question, "What are the highlights of your career?" with the characteristic response, "My favorite moment is tomorrow." Without further ado, please welcome Odile Decq.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you. Okay, so. So good morning, and for the courageous people who are there, including me, but I'm totally jet lagged, so I'm in the afternoon, so no problem for me. So yesterday night, what? Okay, I have to be there. Okay, sorry. So thank you again. Yesterday night, during the dinner, they asked me when I started, and why I wanted to study architecture at the beginning, and how it became that I did that for myself from the beginning. And I started, and I explained that when I talked to my parents to tell them that I wanted to study architecture, it was a long time ago, my father told me that it was not a profession for women. And for proving that to me, he invited an architect of the house for having lunch with them and me. And during the lunch, at one point, the architects asked me if I wanted to be an architect, and I said yes. And he said, "What do you want to do?" I answered, "I don't know why, a theater." And he was really surprised, and he said, "You know, this is very complicated, etc." I said, "Yeah, but I can do it if I do the right studies." And then he turned back to my parents and he said, "You know, this is very nice that now women want to study architecture because they are more practical and pragmatical than us, and they will be very good in our offices to design the kitchen and the cupboards." I said, "Okay." So because of that, I never worked for an architect. It was much better. So I invented my own way of doing my profession, and it was a long process. And then suddenly I started to do bigger projects. And it was at the time, because I finished my studies at the end of the 70s, and it was the 80s where in France, they were starting to think about the young generation of architects. And they decided to help the quantity of young architects that were educated in France and created competition. And I'm from this generation that benefit from the system of competition at the beginning in France. This is how I became, I started to do my buildings at the beginning, but doing that by trying and then succeeding. So, and because for the few women, no, for the women who are there, it's still not so easy. No, I will not talk about that. If I start like that, I will continue forever. It's still not so easy for women to be architects. I don't know why, but maybe because the role model in schools are mostly men. I don't know how it is in Colorado. I'm sure that everywhere is the same. And if you look, okay, women are most in the administrative or in the history, theory, some courses, but not in the studios, not in the project studios. And in schools, you have to do that. You have to bring architects to give role model, because the students are more than 60% women. And then if they don't have role models, they will not believe that they can be one, and they will disappear or go as slaves in the offices of the men. So I just want to say that at the beginning. But okay, so it's true that I started also with a computer at the end of the 80s. I was one of the first one with a very little computer at the beginning, very slow, very, okay. So it's really, I follow all the way of the computers in the system and the technique. Okay, so I start by showing you what? No, where I go, that way? Okay, no, that, I go back. Okay, Horizon. Why I title my lecture Horizon? Because for me, I'm from the sea. I'm coming from Brittany in the west part of France, and for me, the sea is the horizon line is very important for me. I know that maybe in that country, in Colorado, the horizon line is very important too, because when I was driving from the airport to here yesterday, I saw that it's really, whoa, it's very flat, long. It's like the sea, but it doesn't move so well. So, but the horizon is very important, especially when you are on the sea, because this is when you want to go there, when you want to travel on it, you have to make a point somewhere on the horizon line. And then you have to deal with the elements, with the wind, with the sun, with the currents, etc. And you have to negotiate. And this journey to the horizon line is a journey, it's an infinite horizon journey. Because as soon as you reach the point is again in front of you. So this is going further and further and further. And I say that this is the same as doing a project. When you're an architect, you make a point somewhere when you start a project, and you know where you want to go. This is the way I work. And you know more or less where I want to go. It's not a form, this is a question. And then we travel, and and this journey is negotiation with the client, the budget, the geography, the geology, the sociology, everything. So, and with that negotiations, at the end, we reach the point, and we reach a project. This is an adventure. For me, it's an adventure. And at the end, as soon as you reach this project, you want to continue and to go further and to do another one. So this is a kind of similarity between going on the sea and doing project. Okay, this is my way of explaining that. So I do sometimes installation, and this is not an installation, this is an object that I did for an art gallery. Because I was renovating in 2007 an art gallery close to my office, and the owner of the gallery asked me to be the first one in the exhibition as exhibitor. And I said, I'm not an artist, I'm not an architect. He said, yes, but you can do something. And I was thinking about the little sketch that is on the left side, which is the way I was explaining to the people in my office what is a dynamic equilibrium, because I like this notion of instability, this notion of going at the edge of going down. And this is the way you can have an equilibrium with two weights, which is not the same, and that you have to calculate and to estimate the length and the distance and the proportion of both sides. And we built it like that with two balloons. One is a big balloon of air, 2 meters diameter, and the other one is a small one in aluminum filled with sand, grain by grain at the end, to reach the equilibrium, because in between them, there is a long bar of 6 meters long, just above a little pillar, which is 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters, not attached. So we have to find the point of equilibrium, but you see that this is dynamic because when you pass by the big balloon of air, because you are close, we are disturbing the air around, the balloon is a little bit moving. So you see that this is the point of equilibrium, which is very limited and very unstable. So in France, we have we have every year a festival of garden, and every year they send up a tender for application for proposing garden. And in 2009, they proposed colors. And somebody in my office said, why not proposing a black garden? I said, well, yes, this is true. We can do it. So we didn't propose a real garden, but I was thinking that because all the people, the landscapers, the artists, the designers will propose a lot of flowers, very, very colorful. It will be very noisy of colors. So I said, we can do a black, very silencious place for resting. So this is a garden which is built with sheets of glass, black, surrounding a space where the ground is filled with tire powder, with a big thickness. So when you come into the garden, and if you have somebody on the other side, if you want to talk to them, you can't, because the sound is absorbed by the ground. And in the center, there is a little pond with just above a plastic, black plastic. But this is a place for resting, for being calm in the middle of the noise of the colors around. And at the same time, the glass is big, they are black, and they play with, the sun is playing with them. So they change the perception of this form, thanks to the sun reflecting into the black sheets of glass. In SciArc, they asked me in 2011 to create, to come to the exhibition place. And usually this is objects that architects are building or something else. And I wanted to change, to create a new space, a new place. And this is a very regular space organized with 4 triangles, equilateral. But and you see that there are passages in between them. But what we don't see on the plan, this is that the walls are not vertical. And they are all covered by mirror. So you see that from above, like that. And because they are all covered by mirror and not vertical, so they change the perception of the space as soon as you come in. Inside, this is like that. So you see the passage, but sometimes this is a reflection of a passage, so you don't know where to go. And you have to travel through this regular in plan spaces, but that don't seem to be regular and to be, but they seem to be, you don't know what is the space. And you play with the place. And I like to play with that perturbation of the perception. I like this question of having mirrors, having transformation, changing the way you can look at the space. And we can do that, you can experiment in installation and sometimes in architecture. And you don't see where is the limit between the floor and the walls, etc. So this is a kind of game. And in Milan, every year for the Salone del Mobile, the Interni magazine asks for some architects, designers, and artists to do something with a fabricator, contractors. And this year, in 2012, they asked me to work with the tiles factory. And this time they were launching the big tiles of 3 meters long and 1 meter width, with a very little thickness of 3 millimeters or 6 millimeters. And they asked me to do something with that. And instead of covering floors and walls with these tiles, that is for what they are doing, I prefer to show the strength of these tiles by standing them on vertically, having perforating with little tubes to maintain them in place, to have the possibility to create like a space crossing this cube, and having the possibility and making it transparent, but also to be able to go in and to walk on the section of the tiles, of this 3 millimeters thickness of the tiles, to show their strength. And recently, in 2019, an art gallery asked me to build something in the Place de la Concorde in Paris for the FIAC, for the art fair in Paris. And I built a black pavilion. And this black pavilion is a replica of a pavilion from the 18th century that I discovered in a park in the west of France, in a park. And this is just built with black sheets of glass. And these black sheets of glass, because they are black, and because this is glass, are reflective from outside. So outside, this is a very closed volume, and you don't see what is happening. And you are reflecting everything on it. So the square, the Place de la Concorde is reflecting on it. But when you are inside, this is transparent. So you are in the middle of the Place de la Concorde and nobody sees you. So this is again a kind of being there and not being seen, but at the same time being hidden and being in the center of the space. And the structure is very delicate. And the year after, in 2021, he asked me to do it with a greenhouse in the Jardin des Tuileries in Le Louvre. So we did, and you see that the reference with the mansard roof of Le Louvre, this is nearly the same. And it's why, because this is really the replica with a perfect proportion of them. So, and inside, it goes too fast. It told me that it's going fast. Okay, but it's going very fast. So inside there were plants. Okay, I calm down. If there are plants, you could sit, you can have a lunch, you can have this is a place for being inside the garden also. Okay. Now I start with some projects. So this is a macro, the Museum of Contemporary Art in Rome that I won in 2000 and built for 2010 because the procedure in Italy is very long. And it was exactly at the same time that Zara built Maxi. And at the end, one has been called the macro, and the other one the Maxi, because mine is for the cities, the other one is from the state. But so it is. Is there a pointer? No. Okay. So you see where it is, close to the fortification of the old city center, the old Rome. But it's close, it's very close, and it's an area which is more from the 19th century to the beginning of the 20th. And it's a place where they don't have squares, because Rome is a city with squares. And when you go to Rome, you visit Rome and you travel from square to square, etc. This is very beautiful. But at the same time, if you go on the hills around Rome, the 7 hills of Rome, you see that the roof of the city is full of grass and full of trees, full of green, because people use the roof as a place for living. So we had to expand a place which was the 2 parallel buildings with a courtyard in between to expand the museum on the backside with a big site of 2,000 square meters. And I proposed to cover the space with a roof and to create this roof as a place to go, as a square, a new square for the area. So this square is able to reach because we have and we had to create a new entrance, because the entrance of the museum was in between the 2 parallel buildings at the end, and we created a new entrance at the opposite. And in between them, there are 4 meters of difference of level because the streets are going down. And I discovered that thanks to that, I could not, and I had to keep the walls outside because I didn't want to show something contemporary in the center of the city. So I had to keep the former buildings, facades, and to place something inside. So I decided this is a contemporary art museum. So I keep the facade, even if I don't like that facadism attitude, and I create another universe inside. So this is in between 2 surfaces, the roof and the entrance, which is the foyer. And both of them are covered with basalto, the stone basalt, which is the pavement of the sidewalk in Rome. So continuity of the city inside the museum at the ground level and then on the roof. And in between them, there are ramps and staircases that you can go and travel the museum from the foyer to the roof, and in between with some passerelles and other surfaces. So the entrance is in between these two parts of the facade that I kept, and having a glass box, which is a cafe, because in Rome, as in every city in Italy, you have cafes everywhere in the streets. So this is a cafe, but on the first floor, on the second floor for you, because for me, this is first floor, but because we have ground floor and first, you have first and two. So this is the two. So that means that the museum at the end has 3 levels of relation to the neighborhoods. And neighborhoods are residential. So yes, there are the ground floor, the lobby, the cafe at mid-level, and above, this is the roof. So you connect to the people around by these 3 levels. And this glass box is suspended to the facade on both sides, and you pass underneath by crossing a little garden, because they asked me to create a garden. This is a little garden. And inside, you enter in place where you have passerelles at mid-level. And that creates a possibility to travel the museum everywhere and to choose how to travel and how to discover the exhibition around. And in the center, there is a red volume, and this red volume is the auditorium, and it's at the same level than the passerelles. And you can go there, or you can go down, and the light, the natural light, is coming from the surface above with a huge square of glass, which is a fountain, and this provides natural light underneath. And you know, everybody thinks that I'm doing black architecture. No, not always. So, but at times, it was the first time that I tried to paint it everything in black. Only the collective place, the public spaces, not the artist space, not the exhibition room, because this is for them. But I decided to paint it in black, and finally, they discovered that they can hang art on the black walls also. And the natural light is enough, is sufficient that you don't need to light more. So the auditorium itself is a shaped volume, which is not regular, a bit disturbed. And to make it more destabilized in perception, we dig the floor underneath to create a ramp that you can have the light underneath. And one of the directors recently add some screens underneath to show the video collection of the museum, that you can lie down under the auditorium to look at the videos. And you go inside the auditorium is a matte surface outside, red, and inside this is totally red, but bright. And in the meantime of on the way for the construction, they asked me if I wanted to design the furniture, so I started to design furniture. I started to design the seats, which has a bench and some seats, and with an articulated arm something. I don't know the name of that, but and on the back side there is a tablet and a light, so you can, as soon as you take off the tablet, the light is up, and you store it, and it's down. But you can take notes. So this is a place for the artists, for the communication between artists and public, for conference, for lectures, for debate, etc. So this is really the heart of the museum. The exhibition room itself is very huge because it's 1,000 square meters with different heights, because at the beginning, during the competition, they said that they want to have a space which could be not only for exhibition, but also for having theater, having performances, everything. So they gave us some different height, and I played with this height to create the volumes and the roof, which is like a landscape. But and underneath, it changed from 11 meters high to 7 meters high. And one of the passerelles is passing at mid-level, that you can travel the space also at mid-level. And this is an opportunity for some curators to exhibit art seen from above. And this is the roof in the evening. You see that the neighbors have been painted in white to use the neighbors' walls as screens, and to have the possibility on this roof to create events and exhibition also. We designed the lamps also. So the lamps of the terrace and in the restaurant are javelots that I wanted to do forever. And I created that with Luce Plan in Italy. And we create this mast, and we have the object itself as a trace of light. And in the cafe, we design the seats and the tables also. So we try as much as we can now, and more, to design everything in the building, to design not only the architecture. And I know that in States, in US, it's not so easy, because you are an architect and you are being asked to design the box Another one is designing the space planning, another one is doing the furniture, another one is doing. So I try more and more to keep everything in my hands. And I succeeded to do once in Barcelona. I will show you that. But in macro, I started to do that. And because they asked me, because there is a tradition in Italy that architects were the designers. If you remember, if you know something about the furniture in Italy, the 60s and the 70s, all the big designers, the great designers were architects. Because they didn't have work, so they started to design furniture, and they are all architects. So, and architects are able to do design and to do furniture and objects. But usually the client don't give you the commission for that. And I fight for having them all the time, most of the time. And I show you the toilets also. I like to speak about toilets in my lecture because toilets is a place where you don't have regulation. Only place in a building where you don't have regulation. You just have to fulfill to provide a space with a light, some dimension, light and ventilation, that's it. Nobody asks you something. So I like to experiment with toilets. So my toilets have been done in reference to a movie by Jacques Tati, Playtime. I don't know if you know that, for the French director from the 60s. And it was a movie where Jacques Tati wanted to express ultra-modernity from this time that was coming. And it's everything, the characters are traveling in a city. He put utopic city, not utopic so well now, which is called smooth, no asperity, no rugosity, no smell, nothing. And he is traveling, and as one of the first sequences of the movie, he is entering in an office space, and he is wearing shoes with leather soles. And these leather soles are clinking on the sole, on the floor, which is in metal. So I was thinking, okay, I like that sound deep space for that. So I did a box covered with stainless steel mirror and inside also, and having big mirrors at both extremity, and having a kind of object in the center, where, because when you go out of the toilet, you have to go to wash your hands. This is a place to wash your hands, but you don't see any tape, you don't see nothing, no objects. And the object is lighted white. So you have to start by making dancing your hands above. And as soon as you cross an infrared ray, the box becomes red, and the water is coming up, if you see that somewhere, and the dryer is coming up somewhere else. So this is a place where the visitors become actors of the museum. And they smile when they go out the toilets. Okay, so this is another museum that I did in France, in Brittany, in my region, where it was a smaller one, but it's in front of an art piece that has been erected during the process of the development of the project. And the artist was an old lady, which was very known in Europe. I don't know if you know him. In States, it's Aurélie Nemours. She died when she was 93. And this is her only three-dimensional piece. And she was playing with numbers and geometry and mathematics. And this is a piece with 72 stones of 4.5 meters height, 72 by 81 dimension. And this is a specificity, a special calculation for the position of the place. And she gave regulation for the architecture. She said that she doesn't want that the building will light her piece, and that we have to have a calm facade, to not be exhibited, to not be something in front of her piece, to be calm. So I respect her, and I decided to do a black monolith. And this black monolith is split in different, with three parts. The top part is a main exhibition room, but it's covered outside by black mirror stainless steel that change of colors every day, because the light in Brittany, especially on this place, is really moving and changing all the time. So sometimes the reflection becomes, the black mirror stainless steel becomes blue, gray, or black. And down below, this is glass, black glass that are transparent from inside, but black from outside. And on the other side, on the light, the black concrete is gray when the weather is dry, and becomes black when the weather is humid. So there are three materials of black that change perception depending on the weather. And this is monolith and a silencious monolith. And when you come in, because I cut the space, the volume in diagonal, and the light is providing by a very by the roof and coming down in the center space, which is narrow and long. And you enter and facing the backside of an auditorium, and you see the central space, and this is where there is a lift, and you see some stairs somewhere, but you can't go there. To travel the place and to go there, you have to go back to the facade, take the steps all the way along of the facade until the end, in between the auditorium and the facade, to be again projected to the art piece outside. And you go to the cafe, which is at the end. And after that, you enter the central space, and you start traveling by having steps, ramps, surfaces, staircases, etc., to go up. And this is a space of 30 meters high that you can have in the center of the space, going down to the storage 8 meters below. And you go to the top. It's a travel, and you can choose traveling. And the exhibition room, as in the Museum of Rome, is calm because this is white and gray, and they can do it and they can reorganize it as they want. And that, okay, toilets. You know where it is because this is written. And this is a place where there is a partition which is done with with a mirror stainless steel again, but it's sinuous. So when it's particular, you don't see exactly where you are. And when you go to wash your hands, you discover that because of the sinuosity of the partition, what is that? Okay, you become like that or like that. So you are never looking at you. This is, as they said, this is very very cruel. I said, no, this is just a game. This is just art, you know. Okay. So, and in the evening, the proportions are inverted. So the down part is lighted because we lighted the auditorium, and the top part becomes dark until it becomes a lantern in front of the art piece. In China, it's a competition that I won in 2013, I think, because it was very short, this project, for the museum, for an anthropological museum for the man of Nanjing. The man of Nanjing was one of the first Homo erectus discovered in the grots of this mountain. And I went to visit the site, and I discovered that I was walking in that grots, walking on the path of this Homo erectus. So it's really moving when you do that. You go there and you walk on the path of the Homo erectus. And then we had to choose a place where to put our museum, to install the museum. And I decided to install it close to the mountain because this is for him, and it was coming from the mountains. So we started by designing the lines of the place, trying to play with making them up and down, the curved line, and until we did a model with papers like that. And then it becomes a museum, which is a huge museum coming from the mountains, detached from the mountain, but as rebuilding the lines of the mountains, and the landscape is coming up. That is, there is no distinction, a bit of distinction between the museum and the landscape itself. Like that. I have to rush because you give me only 3/4 of an hour. So I speak very fast, I try. And in the middle of the space, because this is 20,000 square meters, it's a lot. We have a lot, long, big exhibition places. And I created this kind of atrium, which is a form which is moving from one floor to the other floor. That is never the same, exactly. And in between, you have to travel with escalators through the void. So, but they are not at the same place. So you have to travel around. And on the same time, when you travel around the space, the place, you discover what is exhibited on both sides, and you travel and choose where you want to go to visit and what, until you go to the end with a sky roof. And offices, I do also offices building. And this one is in Lyon. Lyon is a city at the east part of France, where there are two rivers, the Rhône and the Saône. And in between them, there were a peninsula, and this peninsula was industrial. It was the harbor of the city. And the city, in the beginning of the 90s, yes, 90s or end of the 90s, decided to push out the industry to somewhere else and to redevelop that in the center of the city, because this is really in the center of the city, to create a new area of 1 million of square meters. And this is a big development, nearly finished now. And and they had the competition for the museum, the Confluence, which had been done by Wolf Prix, and at the entrance of the city. But on the other side of the river Saône, there were some buildings already, the custom, the salt, because it was a place where for the transfer of the goods between the ground and the boats. And they decided to create new buildings the same, with blocks like that, 30 meters by 50 meters on the ground. And I chose to do the last one, which is a black object. It's at the end, and I was supposed to sit on a place of 30 meters by 50 meters. But I was at the end, and at the end, people will walk on the bank, will go to the end and cross and turn around, pass under the bridge and go to the museum. So I was thinking I have to prepare them to go down. So I decided to switch the top of the building to make it pivoting under until the bank. So you see on the section that part of the building is on cantilever, and the other part is on the side. And in the middle, we have an atrium. And for building that, we have to create a huge structure, because this is from the extremity of the cantilever to the first pillar, 28 meters long and 5 floors. So this is a huge cantilever. We have to build it as a big crane. And this is why we have these 3 pillars in the center that remain the objects that were for the transfer of the goods in between the cranes that are in between the river and the ground. And we have a cross of big beams. And these beams are very huge. I show you that. And we built the building like that. We started by building the underground, and then by creating a concrete column, where we have the toilet, the shafts, and everything which is irrigating the building. And we brought through the river the 3 pylons plus the beams, and then suspended the building from the top to the bottom. So building from the top to the bottom. It's at the inverse. And the beams were like that, so huge on the top. So if you see the man on the bottom is very huge. They are 4 meters high, and some part are 5 meters high. This is the last floor. And inside, okay, no, and most of that. This is at the end covered with glass. This is a glass box, but this glass box is not surrounding by something for providing shadow. But thanks to the question in the competition to work with artists, I work with an artist, Felice Varini, who is working with the question of point of view. And I asked him I said to him, I did a glass box. Can you change the perception of my facade? And first answer was, we don't give order to artists. Okay, sorry. So I get back, and he came back to me and saying, okay, architecture is very arrogant, because when you build a building, you erase the landscape behind. So I will erase architecture by the landscape which is behind, by taking pictures from the virtual place above and reapplying on the facade the landscape, but in black and white. And thanks to that photos on the facade, providing shadow inside the building. So I said, oh, nice, art is useful for once. And this was a kind of a game between us. Okay, so. And and the cantilever is, as I told you, very long and very high. And because we are pivoting the top part, we pivoted also the atrium. So there is a glass ceiling. And when you walk on the bank, you look through the building from underneath, like that. You can see what is happening. And inside that, there is these huge pillars where we have staircases and lift inside, plus passerelle, and you cross the building and you go from one side to the other side by the middle. And this is official building, and because we are too fast. Okay. Because we are in a glass box, so it's not easy to make a good temperature for this glass box for offices. So we have 3 layers of glass with a void in between them, where the air is transferred during the day, and extract during the night. And plus we have water pipes into the concrete slabs to transfer the heat during the day and to transfer it during the night. So for that, we couldn't kept a false ceiling. So without false ceiling, we had to design all the shaft traces, and we were very strict about the design of the shaft and all the elements. But we were facing a problem, which is acoustic and lighting. So I said, okay, because we had to buy acoustic panels and lighting. So I said, why not combining both of them, creating a kind of an object with acoustic panels and having light underneath. So I sent that to the Luce plan with who I was working for the macro, and I asked them for a prototype, and they said, oh, it works very well. So we will do that in the catalog. So this is the petal that now they are developing, and they are suspending above the desk. And the acoustic, the sound is absorbed by the bottom and from above, because it is detached from the ceiling. So the sound is absorbed everywhere, and this is lighting underneath. And in Paris, we had this long 600 meters long storage, huge, from the 60s. And the city bought it at the end of the 90s and decided to develop it as a new area, a new quarter. And they did a competition. Rem Koolhaas won the competition and decided to build with different layers. Underneath, creating 2 levels of car park, transforming the ground floor of this object as a big commercial center, creating and sometimes going up into the concrete structure, and having the possibility, thanks to the strength of the structure, to build 6 floors above. So, and all the buildings above are, the yellow one are housing, the blue are offices, the light blue is mine, and I've been designing it for that. It's designated for that. It's what can I say that? Call that incubator for multimedia startups for Paris. So it's a public building. And at the end, they destroyed the building and did a competition for sport facilities and schools. So it was, and Rem Koolhaas gave some regulation for that, said keep light underneath. Concrete, no, the concrete has to be maintained. And then you have to step back with crystal, facade crystal, that means glass, and above something solid. So, but I was thinking this is startup for multimedia. People who are creative, have many ideas and changing ideas every time. So I decided to do bubbles on the facade. And I designed these bubbles randomly. And we were from south to north. So I decided to have the white facade on the south and the black facade on the north. And in between, the east facade, black and white, like that. It was the transformation. And as soon as we did that, we said in the office, okay, now everything in the building has to be black and white, totally black and white, except the meeting rooms that could be bubbles, red. So when you enter in the lobby, this is black and white. There is a bubble, a meeting room's bubbles above, which is red. On the back side of the lobby, there is another one. You have to go up by the staircase. To enter in that bubbles, you have to pass through a passerelle. Inside, you are in a cocoon. We redesigned the carpet also. We designed a table which is random forms without no precise form, because this is a shape, because it's a place for people, creative people, so they can sit 2, 3, 4, 10, I don't know how they want. And the way they sit is making them more creative, maybe. And at every level, you have the lift lobby with black and white again. And the lift inside are black and the other one are white. And at the end, on the back side of that, there is a place where you can sit somewhere and have everything is black and white again. And in the spaces on the top, they have huge windows overlooking Paris because they're quite high. And this is totally full of 1,000 people in that building today. And toilets. Because everything is black and white, but the toilets are not. So every floor has the different colors. So I was thinking, if they don't know where they are because everything is black and white, so when they go to the toilet, they know where they are because of the colors. Because you don't know that you can play with toilets. This is I discovered that when I was at the beginning, during the 90s, when I was going to China, and I saw some architects playing with public toilets in the gardens. And I said, yes, it's true, we can play with toilets, because this is a place where nobody asks you something. So you can play with toilets, you can experiment. So this is the last building that we delivered 3 years ago in Paris. It's an offices building in the north of Paris. But the location is very particular because we are between railways that coming from the Gare du Nord, de l'Est, and on the other side, there is another bridge. We have a boulevard underneath this bridge, and we have the building which is standing there. We created 3 blocks in between the vertical circulation with lift and staircase, like a greenhouse in between the volumes of buildings, of offices. And the first one in front is twisted because it's going down to the boulevard down. And we have 3 floors below of public car park. We are in between these 2 bridges. We have a tunnel to bring the prisoners, very safety tunnels on the right, under the bridge on the right, to go to the tribunal. And we have the courthouse, and on the other side, this is the bridge so this is a very complicated site. But we created that because by twisting the volume, I discovered that we can make facades on different directions depending on the position where you are on the boulevard, which is turning. The construction is particular because this is 3 elements: steel vertical pillars, slab mixed on concrete and wood. So the wooden beams from from one side to the other side is without pillars in between, and the concrete slab is attached to the beams, to the wooden beams. So when you are inside, this is wooden ceiling without pillars and without anything that you can modify the buildings, the space. The staircase is going by itself. Okay, it does it by itself. Okay, so this is, I have to rush. Okay. So Barcelona. I won a competition for this building that was an old skeleton of concrete skeleton that was remaining from 2008 after the financial crisis and never been built except the skeleton. And a fund, American and from Luxembourg bought it and decided to develop it to create a tower because it was not so high, but we had a building on the back side. So we had to, the project was first to do a structural problem, to face a structural problem. We had to add the big volumes of red on the drawing, which is the quantity of surfaces that we took from the building on the back side. We discovered in the regulation that we can push the floors to create balconies and terraces all around. And then we could have the total surfaces and reach 100 meters as the other towers around. But for doing that, we had to create a very particular structure because we have to reinforce the structure in the foundation. But the foundation, the pillars of the foundation were passing through a car park of the hotel below, so on the side. So we couldn't create new pillars. We had to create micropiles into the pillars and to create and to dig and to support the new volumes. And at the same time, we had to reinforce the concrete slab to expand them to terraces from 2 meters to 4 meters sometimes. So this is a huge question of structure at the beginning. And then we created that. And we demolished the 2 first floors to create a huge lobby of 10 meters high, creating different floors and then becoming red at the top because we wanted to make a signal for the colors of Barcelona. It is not my color, it's the color of Barcelona. And we did that with, it was a quite ugly shape of square, not very regular. So I decided to make it curving, smoothly curving, to create a kind of distortion of perception by having the curve not regular, but on a diagonal, on an oblique one, a vertical oblique, to create an antithesis, as the Greek were doing on the pillars. This is for me? No, this is not my area. And to create an antithesis, which is what this is what the Greek were doing with the pillars when they wanted to create the impression that the pillars were higher than they were. So it's coming, and the lobby is very high, 10 meters high, and curved and closed by sinuous glasses of 10 meters high, directly standing into the ground and until the ceiling. Having in the lobby, yes, a chandelier done with these javelots that I showed you at the beginning, and suspending them. But thanks to the mirror ceilings that we did, we have the impression that the lobby is 20 meters high and the chandelier is double inside the ceiling. And we have a place with a green wall going out and going in, and some seats developed in with the city, with people from the city. And on the basement, there is a lot of huge space for spa, sport, swimming pool, etc. So from this project, they wanted to hire interior designers and specific designers for that. And I didn't want. So, but I insisted, and I discussed with my clients. I said, no, you have to do that because this is important, etc. I said, okay. I came back to the office and I said, okay, we will do the project. Without asking the client, we did the project. We did the total project of the basement, of the swimming pool, of the interior of the flats, and also of the garden. And I brought that to the client, a big dossier. And they said, yes, you did that. But, you know, and I said, okay, discuss together and we will see. And then 2 minutes? No. So no, my God. So, okay. So finally I did it. Okay. This is a place where, so this is a yoga room. Now I don't explain anything. The swimming pool under the ramp of the car park with a mirror above, and you swim in between you and your image like that. This is nice. And above on the rooftop, there is a huge swimming pool too, infinite swimming pool that you reach in continuity with the sea, which is, it's coming. No, I did it. Like that. Okay. So I go into some duplexes on the top. I don't explain anything. Now I show you just the images. Like that. It's all design. I design everything for that. The door handle, the signage, the kitchen island, the staircase, etc. in the duplexes. The cafe, because close to the lobby there is a restaurant now, and I design also everything in the cafe and have the chandelier and the toilets again. Also, it will come. It doesn't come. That one. This is the basin of the toilets. It's particular. And so this is, okay, the video for the last project that I won this year. Yes. I won a competition in Montpellier. Montpellier is a city where they build follies, what they call follies. So they did a competition for 8 follies, and I won one. This is a little project, close to the city center. For, you will see on the way. Please stop. Oh, this is not nice to say that. So, I continue the video. I can't stop the video. Okay? But finally, we will not build it. Because during my early days in August, I received a call from the mayor from the city saying that the architect in charge of historical monuments, because of we are very close to the city center, is in charge of this site, and she doesn't want this building to be built there. And this is forever. But it could be nice. And look at these eyes. This is really a folly with this big house, and we can close them and it will never be built. This is just a glimpse of something that I give you. Do I stop or do I continue? Gone? Thank you. It's okay. So now, sorry. So now I do some other little objects, little houses. This is an artist residency that I did in Grenoble, close to a place where for the art collector who has this kind of castle on a hill above Grenoble. So she wanted to have artists in residence on her place. And I built, it was a little competition I did not know at the beginning, but because we are in Grenoble, we are in the wood, I decided to build in wood. So this is a kind of an object, a silencious object from her place. They are not looking to her, but I reached them up because I wanted to give the artist the visibility of the possibility to have the view to the Alps and to the city. So this is a twisted volume again to make the sun coming into that place at different levels with a workhouse, a workshop on the basement, on the ground floor, and 3 little rooms, living room, bedrooms, and a belvedere on the top. I go fast. I promise that I go fast. This is a workshop inside the volume and the belvedere. And the artist, since 5 years, they all, when I meet them, I say, they all like that place to work. And in Brittany, it was black and wood. In Brittany, I built a glass house white. It was for an Englishman who is a builder of glass and steel. And he has a macular illness in his eye, so his view is disappearing. So he wanted to have a glass house, a total glass house, to have a huge perception of light, homogeneous, and without any brightness, difference of brightness. So we built with him a glass house built with sheets of double glass, twice double glass, with a void in between, and a specific material inside the double glass that provide translucidity with no transparency. And having this volume like a parallelepiped inclined with 2 volumes of glass sheets. And this is like that. It's particular. And inside, everything, at the beginning, you have to understand where you are, but that place is very particular that the light inside is everywhere the same. So you are in a cocoon, and as soon as you go out, you discover that you are in the world. So this is very particular as an ambience. And now he has left this house because his view has disappeared, and he has transferred that to his niece and her husband, and they love it. And they wanted me to build 2 more houses, but now they don't have the money for doing it. One would have been in concrete, the other one in wood, but not yet, maybe once. And in the same city, I have a client who asked me to build another house in between 2 beaches on the peninsula. And the little fortin, which fortification is nothing, it's not historical, it's from the 20th century. And it's a little folly that somebody built there. And they have the land behind. But the land behind is constrained by the house above, because the house above was the former owner. And they didn't want to have the view hidden because of the construction of the house. But in between them and the house on the back, there is a granite wall. And we decided to not overpass the granite wall. So we dig a little bit to insert the house inside the ground, to have it all in glass, because to provide them the 180 degrees view over the sea, and to cover the roof with stones, to have the continuity of the wall on stones above. And this is the house. So this is really 180 degrees view on the sea and with 2 beaches from everywhere inside, because there is no partition. This is a free space. They have the view to the sea. And we created a long sofa with different positions, different possibilities for sitting, lying, and etc. What is next now? And furniture, okay. So I did furniture for the UNESCO building in Paris, a counter, some seats, etc. I started to do furniture this time. And now I run like that, seats that are twisting, and paper basket, table in plastic. And that now we are developing in mirror stainless steel. And what else? A new lamp with Cheplan, which is a suspended lamp that you can have above a table. And from the Biennale in Korea, they asked me to do a lamp, and I did this stone. which is like that. And I did a knife, okay? Because one of my friends is artistic director of a factory for knife. And once he called me and he said, do you want to design a knife? I said, yes. It is, why not? Because every time I like to design everything that I never designed. I'm always curious about news, about new possibilities, new way. So, and he said, okay, can you do it in 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I said, yes, why not? But as soon as I was in my office, I said, how to design a knife? I don't know how to design a knife. So I knew the blade because he sent me the design of the blade and I couldn't change it. And I took pasta and I molded I put the pasta inside the pasta as a blade. I modeled the pasta with my hand like that. And as soon as I find it comfortable, I pass that by my different people in my office and we manipulate it. And as soon as we reach the position that everybody was comfortable, we send him the model. And he said, you did a model for a knife? I said, I don't know how to design a model, a knife. So I did a model. Okay. So finally he did it. And it's called Le Noir by Odile Decq because it's all black. And the art gallery close to my office that I showed you at the beginning, the art has a dog. The man has a dog. And when we renovated the gallery, 5 minutes, 2 minutes now, he wanted to bring back the dog basket in the art gallery. I said, no way. You don't bring an ugly dog basket in an art gallery. So we will design a basket for your dog. So we went to see the dog, measuring him when he was lying, standing, and sitting, and created this bubble in aluminum, in molded aluminum, asking a lady in the area to sew a mattress for Victor. And Victor was there until he died 3 years ago. And as I did that, and I said to the gallery, okay, I can design that from human to mice. And in 2013, he asked me to do that for mice. And it's true, it exists. So in the galleries, they can sell the house for the mice. Thank you.